Imagine you're holding a book, right? And it claims to map out the fundamental architecture of reality.
Yeah.
Like a text that actually attempts to decode the very mechanics of existence.
Right. Which is a pretty bold claim right out of the gate.
Oh, absolutely. So you look at the cover, and you're probably expecting to see the name of, I don't know, a renowned physicist or some famous philosopher or maybe a spiritual leader.
Sure, yeah. Somebody with letters after their name.
Exactly. But when you look at the author's name, it just says one single word, and it's in all caps. It just says, "Why you?"
Yeah. It is an incredibly disorienting way to begin a text, and honestly, brilliantly so. I mean, it immediately forces this confrontation with your own assumptions about identity.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a mirror right on the cover. So today we're staring straight into the silent void. Welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
We're unpacking this really fascinating stack of materials today. We've got poems, philosophical excerpts, and some truly arresting visual diagrams from a totally genre-defying work titled The Book of Existence.
And the subtitle is You or Me, which really drives that cover point home.
Right. And to be clear right up front for anyone listening, our mission today is not to, sell you on a new dogma or start a cult or anything.
No, not at all.
The text actually explicitly warns against treating it as a final, absolute truth. It calls itself a seed.
And I love that.
It's an intellectual sandbox meant to, stress test our everyday perceptions of who we are and what this universe actually is.
Yeah, the prologue is very careful to state its boundaries,
Oh.
or really its lack of them. It says point blank, let me think how it phrases it. It says, this is not a book of science, not a book of religion, philosophy, or spirituality.
But then it says it draws from all four, right?
Exactly. The goal here is a grand synthesis. It's trying to construct this unified worldview that underpins all those completely distinct disciplines.
And the visual of this text sets that tone perfectly. I mean, the cover art is wild.
Mm.
It features this mesmerizing, dark, cosmic void filled with stars. And right in the center is it being made entirely of, glowing energy sitting in deep meditation. And it's got this intricate sacred geometry overlaid across his body. Lines and intersecting circles mapping out these vast cosmic connections.
It's very striking.
It really is. And then at the bottom, that arresting author credit, written by -you.
Which serves as the thesis statement for the entire philosophy, really. The book is demanding a fundamental shift in human perception.
Right, moving us away from that feeling of being totally separate from everything else.
Precisely. It wants to move us toward a radical understanding of shared being. It's arguing that you, the listener, and me, and you across the table, we are all localized expressions of a single foundational author.
Okay, let's unpack this immediately. Because to understand why you is in all capital letters, we have to go to where the text actually begins, which is way before time, before physical space, into what it calls the silent void.
The absolute 0 point.
Yeah. There's an opening poem that I want to read because it lays the groundwork for this entire system. It goes like this. In silent void, no time, no sound, no shape, no sky, no truth unbound. Only you, the one, aware a stillness vast, a thoughtless stare. To be was truth, to not was lie, so you became the knowing eye.
It's a very potent reduction, isn't it?
It really is. What does that actually mean, practically?
Well, it strips away every single metric we use to define reality. There's no geometry, no chronology, no matter. So what survives that reduction?
The awareness, right?
Exactly. The text claims that only raw awareness survives, just as the poem says, you the one aware.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate here, maybe just push back a little.
Yeah.
If the book's core mantra is, you are me, I am you, this is true, how does this not just collapse into extreme solipsism?
Ah, right. The solipsism trap.
Yeah, because if I genuinely walk around believing that everyone else is just a projection of me, doesn't that strip away their individual autonomy? I mean, throughout history, if someone believes they are the supreme center of the universe, it usually leads to staggering narcissism, not enlightenment.
That is the most critical philosophical trap of non-dualism. It's entirely valid to raise it, but if we look closely at how the text defines you, it actually rescues the value of the individual.
How so? Because it sounds pretty self-centered at first glance.
Well, when it uses that capital Y, it is emphatically not talking about the human ego. It is not talking about the personality that holds your specific job title or remembers your childhood or has your specific neuroses.
So it's not the me that gets annoyed in traffic.
Exactly. It is pointing to the foundational substrate of reality, a single shared consciousness. The text specifically calls for a worldview that is, quote, unified yet not uniform.
Unified yet not uniform. Okay, so we share the same basement, but we've all built completely different houses on top of it.
Precisely. Unity does not imply homogeneity at all. You and I share the same foundational essence, which is the capacity for awareness itself, but the expressions of that essence are infinitely diverse.
Right.
So a tree, a star, you, me, we are the distinct, beautiful manifestations of that underlying unity.
But in practice, day to day, does that actually change anything for the listener? Like, why does this metaphysical distinction matter when someone is just trying to navigate a really frustrating conversation with their boss or, worrying about paying their mortgage?
Because it fundamentally reorients your default psychological posture toward the external world. Think about it this way. If you genuinely internalize the framework that you are me, the logic of human conflict falls apart.
Because you'd be fighting yourself.
Exactly. Harming another person, deceiving them, or exploiting them becomes conceptually absurd. It would be the equivalent of your left hand deciding to attack your right hand.
Wow, yeah. That makes no sense.
Right, so you aren't being altruistic when you help someone. You are literally performing an act of self-care. It elevates empathy from this fragile moral suggestion to a binding law of metaphysical physics.
That reframing is fascinating. It means that when you feel a sense of profound connection with a stranger, it's not just a polite social interaction or good chemistry. It's an instance of the universe recognizing itself.
It's the shared basement recognizing the shared basement, to use your analogy.
Right. But to really understand how this shared consciousness operates on a mechanical level, we have to dive into Chapter 3. This is where the text attempts to map the actual anatomy of the mind.
Yes, the architecture of primal consciousness. And the text is very strict about the chronological hierarchy of existence here.
It builds reality from the ground up, right?
Exactly. Starting long before physical matter or even localized thoughts exist.
And it breaks this down into 3 distinct layers, which I found super interesting. The absolute base state, the bedrock of everything, is awareness.
Just pure awareness.
Right. The text defines this as existing before thought, before feeling, before imagination. It's just a passive registering of existence. It's just that thoughtless stare from the palm.
Correct. It is pure, unconditioned presence, nothing else. But then, from that motionless base layer, something emerges.
The second layer.
Yes. The second layer is drive and intention. The text argues that through a process it calls the individualization of consciousness, a primal drive is actually born.
And it identifies the very first, most fundamental intention in all of existence as the drive to become aware, right?
Yes, the drive to know.
Which we experience on a human level as curiosity. I find that incredibly compelling, the idea that human curiosity isn't just some biological quirk for survival, but the localized echo of the universe's most primal imperative.
It's a beautiful thought.
Like when you fall down a Wikipedia rabbit hole at 2 a.m. trying to understand how a mechanical watch works, you aren't just wasting time, you are tapping into the original cosmic drive to know.
It scales human psychology up to a cosmic principle, and that leads to the third layer.
Right, feeling.
Yes. Once you have awareness and the intention to know, the text introduces the third layer, feeling. But it is very specific about what kind of feeling we're talking about here.
Right, because we aren't talking about human emotions like anger or jealousy or even romantic love, are we?
No, not at all. The text uses the concept of bliss, or ecstasy. It's often associated with the Sanskrit word ananda. It claims that pure consciousness, in its undisturbed state, inherently feels blissful.
Wait, hold on, let's unpack that because that feels like a massive leap to me. Why bliss? If pure awareness is just a blank slate, a thoughtless stare, wouldn't the foundational feeling be complete neutrality?
Like a flat line.
Yeah, exactly, like white noise. Why would a silent void feel ecstatic?
It's a profound question, and it really cuts to the heart of the Eastern philosophy, which this text clearly draws a lot from. The argument is that what we call neutrality in human terms is usually just an absence of intense stimulation.
Yeah.
But in the primal state, there is no friction. There is no lack, no decay, no separation. The nature of experiencing absolute wholeness, of having no boundaries and no unfulfilled desires because there is literally nothing outside yourself to desire.
Oh, I see.
That is experienced phenomenologically, not as flat neutrality, but as profound self-sustaining joy. Bliss isn't an excitement about something. It is the inherent flavor of absolute existence.
Okay, I can see the philosophical logic there, that suffering and even neutrality are basically byproducts of limitation, so a limitless existence must be blissful by default.
Exactly.
But how does this non-physical blissful consciousness actually interact with the spatial physical world we actually live in? The text uses a thought experiment here called the stadium analogy to prove that the mind isn't contained by space.
Right, the stadium analogy. It's a vital bridge in the text argument. So the book asks you to close your eyes and visualize a massive sports stadium.
Like a huge football stadium.
Yes. Picture the vast sweep of the stands, the expanse of the green field, the sheer physical volume of that space.
Okay, I've got it. I'm picturing it right now.
The text then points out a paradox. The stadium you are currently visualizing is conceptually hundreds of yards wide.
Yeah.
Yet your physical brain, encased in your skull, is only about 6 inches wide. Therefore, the text concludes, the physical space of your brain cannot possibly contain the mind. The mind must exist outside of physical space.
See, I have to play devil's advocate again here.
Yeah.
Because if we're looking at this rigorously, that analogy has a pretty glaring scientific flaw, doesn't it?
You're thinking of the neurobiological perspective.
Yeah. It's a classic category error. The stadium in my head isn't literally 100 yards wide. It's a microscopic electrical representation rendered by firing synapses.
Right.
It's like saying a computer hard drive can't contain a massive open-world video game because the hard drive is only 4 inches wide and the game's map is 1,000 miles wide.
Yeah.
The physical space does contain the data, it just encodes it. So does the text account for that neurobiological reality, or is it just relying on a poetic metaphor?
You are absolutely right to point out the neurobiological counterargument. If we view consciousness purely as a byproduct of material hardware, the stadium analogy totally fails.
Right.
However, the text is operating from a phenomenological framework. It's asking you to look at the subjective experience itself.
The actual feeling of the space.
Exactly. The experience of the stadium has spatial qualities that simply do not map onto the physical wetware of the brain. The text is arguing that the physical body is more like an antenna.
Oh, like a receiver.
Yes. Your smartphone doesn't literally contain the entire internet, right? It accesses and renders a signal from a vast, non-local network.
Okay, so the brain is the receiver, not the generator. And that primal non-local network, that consciousness, doesn't need physical space to exist because it actually is the space.
That's the core of it.
The text makes this really sweeping claim that the non-physical realm doesn't need tools to create. The single capability it has, just the sheer act of becoming aware, is enough to generate all of reality.
Which brings us to the inevitable roadblock. The question that basically destroys human logic when we try to comprehend the origins of reality.
Right. How does a non-spatial, timeless awareness actually start? We always hit the wall of the first cause.
Yes, the first cause. The human mind is rigidly conditioned by cause and effect. We need an A to cause a B. So the text tackles this using rigorous deduction, starting by attacking the concept of nothingness.
This is where it gets really mind-bending.
It asks us to assume that at the very beginning there was absolute perfect nothingness. No matter, no energy, no void, just true zero.
But if there is true nothingness, there is absolutely no mechanism for change. There is no potential energy, no cause available to trigger an effect. So mathematically, logically, absolute nothingness can only ever produce more nothingness forever.
Exactly. Since we can look around right now and clearly see that something exists, you are listening to this, we're sitting here speaking, the hypothesis that there was ever a state of true nothingness is logically false.
It's impossible.
Right. Therefore, the text deduces there can be no beginning that starts from zero. Something must have already existed, something that was entirely uncaused. The text names this the beginning thing.
The beginning thing.
Yeah.
I love that phrasing. And the text gets incredibly granular about the mechanics of this first cause. It asks this really simple but profound question: where was it located?
Which is a trap, conceptually.
Exactly.
Right.
Because if it was the very first thing, there was literally no space to put it in. So the logical conclusion is that the beginning thing didn't occupy a location. It was the location itself.
It did not come into existence. It was existence. And because it was the entirety of reality, it was uniformly everywhere.
But this brings up a huge question for the listener. The text suggests that because the beginning thing is all-encompassing, what we perceive as randomness or chaos in the universe might just be an illusion. It implies that chaos is just order that an observer hasn't made sense of yet. But does this text actually argue for strict determinism? Does it mean every single chaotic tragedy, every chance meeting, every random car accident is part of a perfectly ordered, predetermined structure. Where does free will fit into this?
That is the terror and the comfort of this framework, honestly. If the beginning thing is the totality of existence, then from the perspective of the whole, there are absolutely no surprises.
Wait.
True randomness requires an event to happen outside the chain of causality or outside of awareness. But if consciousness is the foundation of everything, there is no outside.
So randomness is just a symptom of our localized ignorance. We see chaos because we're staring at one tiny pixel instead of the whole screen.
Precisely. As for free will, the text's non-dualistic approach usually reconciles this by saying that the you at the foundational level has absolute freedom. It is authoring the universe.
The capital Y-U-U.
Yes. But the localized ego, the specific human personality, is operating within the parameters set by the whole. You feel the illusion of chaos because you are literally designed to be a limited perspective.
Which perfectly segues into the ultimate characteristics of this beginning thing. If it is the uncaused first cause and it encompasses all of reality, the text assigns it the classic omni-triad.
Right, the three omnis. Omnipresence, omnipotence, and omniscience.
So presence across all space and time, absolute power over self and reality, and total unfiltered knowledge.
Exactly.
So the text is tackling the classic omnipotence paradox here. You know, the old philosophy 101 debate. Can God make a rock so heavy he can't lift it?
The ultimate logic puzzle.
Yeah. If this consciousness has absolute power, can it limit itself? How does this specific framework resolve that paradox?
It resolves it by completely redefining the boundaries between those three traits. The text argues that the distinction between space and time, self and others, inside and outside, is fundamentally illusory. The three omnis are completely interdependent. You cannot have absolute power, which is omnipotence, over reality if you are not present everywhere within it, which is omnipresence.
That makes sense.
And you cannot possess absolute knowledge, omniscience, unless you have the power to encompass everything.
They are a closed loop, a totally self-sustaining triad. But wait, earlier the text established that in the silent void, space and time don't actually exist.
Well,
So how can you be omnipresent if there's literally no present to be in?
that is where the text logic is extremely tight. It points out that in a timeless, spaceless void, omnipresence simply collapses into pure presence. It just means essentially not being absent.
Just being there.
Right. Similarly, omnipotence, which implies power over an outside world, just becomes pure potential because there is no outside world to control yet.
Wow.
So the only property that remains fully active and actualized in that primal state is omniscience, pure, all-pervading awareness.
Okay, so let's summarize where we are for the listener. We have this beginning thing. The cosmic you. It is omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. It exists in a state of pure, locationless, blissful awareness, holding infinite potential.
Yes, that is the baseline of absolute reality according to the text.
Which brings us to the most glaring, painful paradox of human existence. If you and I, at our fundamental core, are this limitless, ecstatic, all-powerful consciousness, why are we here?
The big question.
Yeah. Why is the listener sitting in traffic right now, stressed about their taxes, battling a cold, dealing with heartbreak, and feeling so inherently painfully trapped? If we are infinite, why on earth do we choose to experience the finite?
This is the crescendo of the text, really. To explain how and why the infinite becomes finite, it introduces an incredibly vivid diagram. It's titled The Mechanics of Limitation, From Cosmic to Human.
Let me describe this diagram for you, listener, because it's a brilliant way to visualize the philosophy.
Yeah.
Imagine on the far left, a glowing, intricate geometric web of light.
Like a source point.
Yeah, and it's labeled cosmic origins, representing that pure, infinite consciousness we just defined.
Yeah.
Shooting out of this web are solid, blinding beams of pure light, representing the raw omni-traits.
And those pure beams travel toward the center of the diagram where they hit a solid 3D pyramid.
The pyramid is labeled the veil. It acts exactly like a cosmic prism. When the pure light of infinite consciousness hits the veil, it refracts. It splits into separate, distinct colored beams that shoot out the other side.
And the text maps exactly how each cosmic superpower is degraded or translated really into a specific human drive.
Let's analyze these refractions, because
Mhm.
this is where the metaphysical mechanics meet actual human psychology. Let's start with omniscience, the state of absolute knowledge. When that pure beam hits the veil, how does it refract?
According to the diagram, omniscience is lost, and it emerges on the other side of the veil as the human drive for growth and curiosity.
And this makes so much intuitive sense, because you no longer have access to the whole picture. You're infused with this burning, insatiable desire to learn.
Right, you're seeking it out.
You are trying to rebuild omniscience, one tiny fact at a time. Every time you read a book, every time a scientist looks through a microscope, it is the universe desperately trying to remember what it already knows.
Exactly. It frames curiosity not as a lack of knowledge, but as the active pursuit of lost totality. Now, consider the second trait, omnipotence, absolute power. When that refracts through the veil, it becomes the drive for action, competence, and strength.
Because we are no longer all-powerful by default, we have to strive for it. We have to go to the gym to build physical strength. We have to practice a musical instrument for 10,000 hours just to become marginally competent.
It's the struggle.
Yeah. Our ambition, our entire human drive to overcome obstacles and achieve mastery is just the refracted, localized echo of cosmic omnipotence. We are fighting against our own intentional limitations.
It gives immense dignity to human struggle, I think. It says that your effort isn't meaningless. It is the friction of the infinite interacting with the finite.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Then we have the third trait, omnipresence, the state of being everywhere at once. When that passes through the veil, what does it become?
It becomes the drive for movement and connection. Think about what this means for you, the listener. We are confined to one physical body. We are trapped in one geographical coordinate at any given moment.
Right.
Because of that limitation, we crave movement. We build airplanes, we explore new continents, and even deeper than that, we crave emotional and physical connection with other people. We want to bridge the gap between us.
Because the gap is unnatural to the whole.
Exactly. According to this text, when you feel a profound sense of loneliness, it isn't a psychological flaw. It is literally the physics of the universe crying out for its lost omnipresence. You want to connect with others because, fundamentally, you used to be everywhere and everyone.
That is a staggering way to view human intimacy. It frames love and connection as the attempt to repair a cosmic fragmentation.
Wow.
And finally, we have the refraction of time, the cosmic state of eternalism or timelessness. When that hits the veil, it becomes the human drive for longevity and survival.
We fear death because we are fundamentally accustomed to being eternal. We want to extend our lifespans, we want to have children, we want to create art that outlives us all as a localized rebellion against the illusion of time.
Right.
But this raises a major question. The text maps out how these traits are refracted. But it argues that this entire compartmentalization, this veil, is completely intentional.
It is the only logical conclusion when dealing with an absolute creator. Chapter 3 presents a list of things the creator actually cannot do. And this ties back to our earlier discussion of the omnipotence paradox.
Right, the creator cannot die. The creator cannot not be omnipotent because it is absolute. It is ironically trapped by its own absoluteness. It cannot experience what it feels like to have a limit.
Exactly. If an infinite, omnipotent consciousness wants to know what it feels like to struggle, to be surprised, to learn, or to overcome fear, it has a functional problem. It cannot actually lose its power.
It's too powerful for its own good.
Yeah, basically. So it must build a veil. The text explicitly states, and I'll quote it here, to experience and actualize even the above limitations. The creator creates reduced versions of itself, demarcates a part of itself, to experience all kinds of limitations which become applicable to the created personality.
So you, me, the person listening right now, we are the illusory personalities. We are the intentional limitations.
Yes.
We are the diving bells that the universe built so it could sink down into the pressure of finite existence and look around.
We are the infinite playing an incredibly immersive game of hide and seek with itself. At our core, behind the veil, the essence remains pure and undistorted, but our localized experience is intentionally constrained.
Okay, I understand the how. The cosmic prison creates the illusion of limitation so the limitless can experience boundaries. But we still haven't answered the ultimate engine behind all of this.
The why.
Yes, the why. What is the fundamental force driving this entire process? Why does the universe have to experience these limitations? Why couldn't it just stay in the blissful, silent void forever?
To answer that, we have to look at the text's final major concept, the rule of actualization. We established earlier that in the silent void, the beginning thing holds the infinite potential for the existence of everything.
Every possible reality.
Every thought, every combination of matter exists as a potential.
Right, infinite potential.
Here is where the text makes a massive, uncompromising logical claim. It states, if there is a potential for anything to exist, it must exist at some point. If it is definite that a particular thing shall never exist at any point of time, then its potential also cannot exist.
Wait, slow down. I need to challenge the mechanism there because that is a massive logical leap. Why does unactualized potential equal non-existent potential? Well, like just because I have the potential to go to the kitchen right now and make a sandwich doesn't mean I must do it to prove the potential exists. I can choose not to. How does the text bridge the gap between can happen and must happen?
Your sandwich analogy assumes a finite timeline and a contingent event.
Okay.
The text is operating on a scale of infinity. If we're talking about an infinite span of time, or rather a state outside of time where all possibilities are present, the laws of probability change. In an infinite framework, if a potential exists, the probability of it actualizing eventually reaches 100%.
Oh, because of the infinite time frame.
Yes. If a specific potential, say the existence of a universe exactly like ours, was never, ever going to actualize across the entire stretch of eternity, then it was never truly a potential. It was an impossibility masquerading as a potential. Therefore, the text concludes, true potential carries within it an inherent, inescapable demand for actualization.
Oh, I see. Wow. In a state of true infinity, leaving a potential unactualized is literally a mathematical contradiction.
Exactly.
So the ultimate cause of reality, the reason the veil was built, the reason the Big Bang happened, the reason human history is unfolding with all its triumph and tragedy, is simply because the universe must actualize every single potential variation of itself. It is an unstoppable cosmic engine.
That is the grand thesis. We are not accidents. We are not random byproducts of chaotic matter. We are here experiencing our very specific limitations, our unique curiosities, our localized struggles for survival, because we are the actualization of a specific cosmic potential.
So the universe had a potential thought. What would it be like to be a person in this exact year listening to a deep dive about the nature of reality while driving to work?
Yes.
And because that potential existed, you, the listener,
Yeah.
had to be created to experience it. You are the universe checking that specific, highly detailed experience off its infinite ledger of potential.
It radically recontextualizes human suffering and joy alike, doesn't it?
It really does.
It replaces the anxiety of a random, indifferent universe with a profound sense of intrinsic purpose. Every limitation you face isn't a punishment from a distant deity, nor is it a stroke of bad biological luck. It is the specific necessary parameter of the potential you are currently actualizing for the cosmic whole.
Let's take a breath, because this is an immense framework to hold in the mind. We started in the silent void, a state of unconditioned awareness. We deduced logically that something uncaused, the beginning thing, had to exist,
Right.
and that this consciousness holds omnipresence, omnipotence, and omniscience. We explored how those absolute traits pass through the veil, refracting into our human drives for curiosity, action, connection, and survival. And we realized that this entire magnificent, painful theater of existence is driven by the absolute mathematical necessity of actualizing infinite potential.
It is a masterclass in synthesizing abstract metaphysics into a cohesive, intensely personal framework.
And what I love most is that the text doesn't ask for your blind faith. It offers this as a lens. When you look at your daily life, your frustrations, your moments of deep connection, through this lens, they cease to be mundane.
They become necessary.
Yeah, they become the exact conditions the universe engineered to experience a distinct facet of its own infinity.
Which leaves the listener with a very powerful, provocative question to ponder on their own.
Oh, definitely.
If, as this text claims, every limitation, every boundary, and every frustration you experience is just an illusory personality intentionally designed by the whole to experience a specific finite state, what incredibly unique, singular piece of cosmic potential is your current life trying to actualize right now?
That is the ultimate question. With all your specific challenges, your distinct limits, and your unique joys,
Yeah.
if you are indeed the creator behind the veil, what exactly are you trying to teach yourself today?
It changes how you see everything.
At the beginning of this deep dive, we talked about how comforting it is to look at your hands and know exactly where you end and the world begins. Clean, binary boundaries. But after exploring this framework, I think the murky waters are far more beautiful. The next time you look at a stranger or the stars or your own reflection, consider the possibility that there are no boundaries at all.
The boundary is just where the illusion begins.
Exactly. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the boundaries, and we'll see you next time.